Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, yesterday I saw this story on the grill and I want to share it with you all. But before I do so, I want to give people time to tune into this hangout before I get started. Also, I want to let you all know that I may have a special guest on here. It may be later on this week. So, you all look out for that. I may interview somebody that's a local legend here in Baltimore, but I'm gonna hold off on that until it's official and I have the date and time, and I'll make an announcement later to the audience to let you all know when that's going to take place. Hopefully, it'll go through, and I'll let you know, give you all the details. Shout out to Big Game Orenthal. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so let's get right into it. I'm going to share my screen so that you all can see this story. And I'm sure by now a lot of you have heard about this. So if you bear with me 1 second, I'll get it up. So here's the story I saw on the griot. And basically it's about Prada. Prada is a luxury line of clothing and stuff, high-end clothing. And they actually used blackface products. They were selling and promoting some blackface products. And I want to go into this right here. So I'm going to read a couple of excerpts and then I'm going to show you all some of the images. So this says grotesque images of over-exaggerated red lips on ink black skin were used to intimidate and ridicule and dehumanize Black people in decades past. But this holiday season, upscale fashion brand Prada seems to have drawn inspiration from that racist tradition with their line of Sambo-like merchandise and store display decor. So this is what they have on display right here. You see this image. You see these dark images right here with the bright red lips that resemble menstrual images. And as you can see here, these are, this is a menstrual image right here. And these are Prada's recent projects that they have put out here, these products that they have put out, like this one right here, where they actually have this little keychain type of object that looks like a monkey, looks like a blackface image. And this is not something that was done like decades ago. This is something that was done very recently. And so I'm going to read a little bit from this excerpt. This prominent person posted this status on Facebook. She said, "I don't make a lot of public posts, but right now I'm shaking with anger. Today, after returning to NYC after a very emotional visit to the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, including an exhibit on blackface, I walked past Prada's Soho storefront only to be confronted with the very same racist and denigrating blackface imagery. I entered the store with a coworker only to be assaulted with more and more bewildering images." Let's see. Yeah, so I brought it up closer so you all could see it. So only to be assaulted with more and more bewildering images or examples of their Sambo-like imagery. Yeah, so it's just a shame that something like this would be happening in 2018. Here we are heading toward 2019. And you can't tell me that these people didn't know what was going on. And this is a larger image so that you can see it clearly. And then you see these tweets from people on Twitter, where they're comparing these products to these past images of minstrels. See, you have the Prada project right here, or product, and you have this older image of a minstrel. And you can see the obvious similarities between the two. This is not rocket science or anything like that. It's plain and simple. So after this controversy came out, Prada issued a statement, and they basically said that they abhor racist imagery, and they talked about how these images were fantasy charms composed of elements of Prada, and then they talked about how they are imaginary creatures not intended to have any reference to the real world, and certainly not blackface. And then it goes on to say Prada Group never had any intention of offending anyone, and we abhor all forms of racism and racist imagery. In this interest, we withdraw the characters in question from display and circulation. So they're saying that they're no longer going to display them, they're no longer going to sell them. But this raises so many questions, and I'm going to get into it. For those of you who haven't read this article, it will be in the description box so that you all can check it out. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now, and then I'm going to provide my brief commentary, and I'm going to see what you all have to say as well before I close out. So if you can just bear with me 1 second. So first of all, I have a couple of things to say. Let me see what you all are saying before I go on, though. And someone asks, is the keychain the noose? I don't know if it's an actual noose, but that's one thing that somebody could say. You know, it does look like it resembles that. That's something that someone could raise a legitimate question about. And Big Game said, this is how they show us their gratitude. Tons of rappers give them free promotion. Exactly. And we're going to get into that in a second. And they still put out this filth. So this is the first thing that I have to say. You know, the fact that they will put out these products just tells you about the lack of diversity within that company. You can't tell me that they have Black people on their marketing team or Black people that helped them design these products, because if they did, if they had any common sense Black person on their staff, any Black person with any sense of history, that Black person would have brought it to their attention that this project or product is obviously not acceptable given the long history of minstrel shows. You know, we all are very familiar with those images, the blackface image, the minstrel image, the image where, you know, they depicted Black people as subhuman, where Black people had ultra Black skin with big, huge red lips that they would put on them, and have Black people with bugged out eyes and super knotted hair, and have people talking gibberish and acting like complete buffoons to depict Black people as subhuman, as unintelligent, as stupid, as clowns. Those are the images that they put out there of Black people. And you can't tell me that these people weren't aware of that. You can't tell me that a Black person was on their staff that they would have, you know, would not have raised issues about this. You know, it shouldn't have been put out to begin with. You know, it shouldn't be a situation where somebody on Twitter or Facebook has to make a statement before these people could act. This idea should have been killed upon conception. Once somebody brought forth this idea of having these ape-like creatures for sale, these minstrel-like images and products for sale, somebody should have deaded that from the beginning. Somebody would, you know, so if they had a Black person in there with any sense of history, any sense of common decency or any common sense, that Black person would have been in a position to tell them, you know, that you should not move forward with this product. And if they just had any sense of cultural sensitivity at all, you know, even if they did not have many Black people on their staff, if they had any kind of sympathy or any kind of consciousness about the African-American experience, this should have been obvious. This should have been a no-brainer. This project shouldn't have even came out. And it's sad that so many Black people support Prada. You know, you have, like Big Game was saying, you got rap artists that talk about Prada and stuff like that. They talk about all these designer white labels and fashion companies that don't give a damn about Black people, that don't even want Black people wearing their products. But here we are, like some damn fools running around here, promoting their products, you know, giving these people free advertising. You know, these people, you know, these rap artists, you know, they stand to make millions of dollars off of, you know, deals that they have with branding where they promote certain products, or even like you have athletes, for instance, that get paid to promote products. You know, given the potential to make money, these people freely advertise for these products, freely advertise for companies that don't give a damn about them, don't give a damn about their people. And if this doesn't make that message loud and clear that Prada and many of these companies don't give a damn about you, I don't know what else you need to hear to understand that point. And part of me just wonders if this goes beyond just cultural insensitivity or just ignorance or just stupidity on their part. Part of me wonders if this was deliberate, like if they deliberately put out these racist images to generate controversy, to give themselves free advertising. Because you can't tell me that they didn't know about the history of the blackface in this country, of the minstrel images. You can't tell me that somebody just made that image up of their own accord without any kind of reference to the history, because there are obvious parallels between those images and the minstrel image. All you have to do is do a side-by-side analysis of the minstrel images and compare it to these images, and you will see that they are virtually the same. You see minstrel images that look exactly like those images, exactly like those products that they are trying to sell people. Exactly like them, man. And it's like Black people need to divest from these types of companies. And all people of goodwill should divest from this particular company. Now, it's a good thing that they took these products off of out of circulation and off of their displays and all that kind of stuff. But, this whole incident causes me to question the integrity of that company. It causes me to question the direction of that company. And it makes me wonder, what kind of steps do they plan to implement to make sure that nothing like this ever happens again? As long as they don't have any kind of remedy in place to make sure that this kind of foolishness, this type of racism doesn't occur on their watch, then Black people need to stop supporting these kind of companies. Stop investing in companies that don't invest in you. Stop investing in companies that don't care about you. Stop giving them your hard-earned money. A company that doesn't give a damn about you, a company that views you as subhuman, that views you as like a monkey or something. And you're going to shout these companies out? You're going to support this stuff? You're not going to say anything about this stuff? Like, you had a lot of Black people supporting like Tommy Hilfiger and all these other companies that don't even want you really wearing their products. A lot of these companies, man. So yeah, man, I just had to air this out, man. I just hope that this wakes people up and like makes them understand what time it is with some of these companies. And this is not the first time. Like, every other couple of months we hear about something like this. Like we heard about the H&M ad where they had a Black boy wearing a shirt that said the coolest monkey in the jungle or something like that. They view Black people as subhuman. They view Black people as monkeys. And we know that there's a long tradition of racism tied to connecting Black people to primates, to apes and monkeys and all that kind of stuff. And this is just a continuation of that. So let me see what you all are saying before I sign out. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Also, I want to let you all know that right after this, I'm going to finally do a video or a hangout about Centoya Brown. I touched on it in one of my prior hangouts, but I want to focus on that. And I want to hear from you all about what you think about that particular case. And I'm not just going to get on here and just, blindly support her like a lot of people have done. Like, you see a lot of people just, supporting her without question. It's going to be more nuanced than that. So I hope you all can check that out. So let's see what people are saying before I sign out. Again, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Yeah, so Def Rocker said that he heard that Spike Lee had once supported Prada. And he says, if so, I hope he woke up. Yeah, I'm not familiar with him promoting Prada. I'm not familiar with that, but yeah, I'm sure Spike Lee knows what time it is. I mean, if he saw, I'm sure that once he found out about this whole thing, he probably would disassociate from Prada or whatever, or call him out. Because as you will recall, Spike Lee had a film called Bamboozled, which dealt with this whole menstrual thing, which dealt with, these negative stereotypes of Black people and stuff. And it's just a shame, man. You had this major company, this upscale fashion company, degrading and humiliating Black people in this modern age with these racist, stereotypical images of Black people. And I don't buy their story about how they're so against racism. If you're so against racism, why would you even think that this was acceptable? If you are so against racism, why did you even put this thing out and not even think twice about doing so? This is absolutely insane that something like this would happen today, but it's not surprising. Unfortunately, it's not surprising, man. And it's like, no matter what kind of status you had in this society, at the end of the day, the racist elements of this society still view you as subhuman, still view Black people as subhuman. Here you had a president, Barack Obama, somebody that went to the best schools in the country, somebody that graduated from Harvard Law School, somebody that was on Harvard's Law Review, the president of Harvard Law Review, somebody that went on to become, a state senator, then a U.S. senator, then president of the United States, somebody that's an accomplished author. And despite all of that, despite all those accomplishments, racist people viewed him as just the N-word. They viewed him as a monkey, and they literally depicted him and his family as a family of chimpanzees, as gorilla-like creatures. So that tells you, just how entrenched racism is in the society. And it's a damn shame that you would have a company like this put out this ridiculous product. And it's like, you saw the outrage, for instance, with like Kevin Hart and the statements that he made about the LGBT community years ago. I wonder if the same people that were expressing all that outrage about statements that Kevin Hart made years ago, I wonder if those same people are expressing the same outrage about this product that Prada put out a couple of days ago. So let's see what else you all are saying before I sign out. So Afros and Afro Sheen said, I had to explain this to my niece this morning because she didn't think it was a big deal. Yeah, I think a lot of the younger generation, they may not get it because they don't even know anything about, these menstrual images. And even in my generation, like, we didn't really grow up seeing those types of images, for the most part. But we did have like little glimpses of it. Like every now and then, for instance, they would have those racist cartoons, on television, depicting Black people as savages, blackface images. And this was Walt Disney. Walt Disney actually had these racist images of Black people. You had it in Bugs Bunny and all these other type of cartoons where they depicted Black people as savages and stuff like that with blackface images. And I remember as a kid, they would show like throwback episodes, of the Little Rascals. And we know in that show, the Little Rascals, they had a couple of Black characters on that show who were nothing but minstrels, like Buckwheat and this guy Farina or whatever his name is. All these racist images of Black people. So we saw little glimpses of that growing up, man. For instance, like, my mother's generation and my grandfather's generation, they grew up with Amos and Andy and stuff like that. They grew up with all these ridiculous images of Black people, like Step It Fetching and stuff. Step and Fetch It, all these racist type of images where they depicted the Black man as cowardly, as cartoonish, as buffoonish, as stupid, as lazy and trifling and all that kind of stuff. All those negative types of images and programming that our people were taught to believe and, embrace and stuff. And that the larger society was taught to believe that that was the representation of what most Black people were like. So a lot of these kids, they don't see this stuff. They're not familiar with that history, and we have to be the ones to teach them that history. We have to be the ones to pass on that horrible history to our young people so they'll know what time it is. You know, just like all these other people do. They make sure that you never forget about the Holocaust. They make sure that you never forget about Pearl Harbor and all that kind of stuff. They make sure that the American people understand the American history, the Revolutionary War, and the plight that the American people went through when they were colonized by the British and all that stuff. But for some reason, you know, some of us think that we're beyond that. We don't want to, you know, teach our young people about our history. You know, we want to forgive and forget. To hell with that. We need to teach our young people about what time it is, man, so they'll know the history. Because you can't get anywhere in terms of your future if you don't know your past, because it informs your present and your future. Yeah, so it's just a damn shame, man. So yeah, we just need to make sure our kids know what's up, man. Because you know they will believe this nonsense when Prada says, "Well, oh, we are so against racism. We didn't know this was racist. We didn't intend to make it racist. This was not supposed to be real life." To hell with that. That's an excuse. That's nonsense. They must think we're stupid or something if they think we're going to go for that. So let's see what people are saying before I close out. Hold on one second. Shout out to King Hebrew. Yeah, so Afros and Afro Sheen said this wasn't accidental since the HMM incident had just happened. Yeah, I mean it's like after all that controversy about that, and there was something else, some other controversy and stuff as well with one of these companies. I can't recall the details right now, but there's no excuse for this, man. Just bear with me. Sometimes YouTube automatically hides comments, so if you use any kind of profanity, they hide them. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Ahmed, in terms of you know, supporting these companies. We just need to stop supporting these companies that don't support us. Yeah, so with that, I'm gonna say peace and blessings to each and every one of you. Again, like right after this, I'm gonna do another live stream. So I hope you all can check that out. It's gonna be about Centoya Brown and her whole situation. So I'm looking forward to you all joining that discussion. Peace and blessings to each and every one of you.